All right, so I'm back in the shop. I'm fighting a little bit of a cold. I've been banging away on this thing. I have not put many videos out on there, but this one I'm actually going to go home. I'm just going to put it out there. So things just are going to get a little out of chronological order on this project, but so be it. I'm kind of under a deadline, so I've been banging away on this thing, recording a little bit here and there for myself for the future. But here's where we're at. So it's a whole bunch of steps forward, and today it's like one giant step back. So I'm working on stripping everything, cleaning up all the spatter and getting things ready for paint. I got a couple things painted. I'll show you that and just kind of give you a quick update on what's happening in the Jeep Buggy CJ thing world here. So check it out. So we were fully assembled, but not wired, not plumbed, not anything. But I had all the body panels on it. I had seats in it, seat pans, floor pans, everything dialed in. And now it's, strip it down, clean it all up, wrap up a couple of things that I had to do as I was moving along and couldn't get to weld things. So check the back sides of all my welds and things of that nature. Sand, prime, paint, reassemble. So I've got, I want to say it's about 20 days and this thing's got to be on a trailer ready to rock. So it's going to be really, there's not a lot to do, but at the same time, it's going to suck up some time. So I got the floor pans out. I'm going to sand those here today, get a coat of primer on them. I'm going to come back to the chassis in another day or two to start working on that the rest of the way. I've been nitpicking, weld boogers, and cleaning things up, just in between other things, watching, like when I was welding in tabs and stuff like that, waiting for things to cool down to be able to mount the body panels. I just kind of working around on the backside of the chassis, deburring and prettying things up, getting it ready for paint. I ran into a steering issue the other day after I dropped the body back down. I started looking at fitting locations on my PSC, so I had to, the hoses were more pointed straight up out of the top of the ram. I ended up having to loosen all the clamps, roll the ram back, and then clock the hoses. And start kind of rerouting things, because these hoses here used to be 3 inches higher. They also used to be mounted on a fender in here that's gone. Granted, I will have a flat fender across this, but it's not going to have much structure. So I got to get this all bridged with a rod, then put it in some heat wrap. That's all my steering hoses. And then I'll heat wrap the header just to kind of keep heat out of the steering. Other things I've kind of, picking away, just polishing up, rough edges and things like that. I got the floor pans done. I'm sure I haven't posted that video yet, but this was a bit of a project. Fun, had a lot of fun doing it. Pieced everything in. I had to clock this up. Clock it up. So the transfer case was sitting here. It's 205 clock flat. And then to get transfer case clearance after I dropped the body down, I had to put this big bump in the floor. So got that done. I put over the trans tunnel area here, I put just a removable plate. I'll probably do that with some nut zerts ultimately, but currently it's just screwed down with trailer panel screws. That's all the old one was. It worked just fine. But I left that and I brought it all the way out to here. If I ever have a shift linkage failure, which this is a pretty simple shifter setup, but if I ever go cable shifters, things like that down the road and had a linkage failure, I could actually pull this off, reach down in there with pliers or a pry bar and shift my transfer cases and continue a weekend. Same with the way the transmission cable routes. That's ultimately going to route through a hole right about here, comes out of the dash, lays across the top of this, goes through a hole, turns and goes forward to the shifter on the trans. And same thing there, if that cable ever took a crap, I'd be able to pull that pan, hook a set of vice grips to it and maybe duct tape a stick to it or something and make a shifter to finish a weekend I've been on a few trips where guys, literally got off the trailer and they had something stupid like a shift cable fail, and it just screwed them. So trying to, prepare for the worst, and have a couple things like that accessible. I can actually access through that top plate. If I pull it off, I can actually access the drive shaft U-joint for the front output on the transfer case a lot easier than I can from the underside once the skid plates are installed. So there might be a second benefit there as well. I put all the floor pans in with nut zerts and tabs. The seats are going to be through bolted. I couldn't get nut zerts in there because of the location with the tubing. I can fish some nuts in there though, so that's kind of a little bit of a mathematical error, but it's functional. I chose to not cover the backside of the cage currently. So that triangle here, this one here, and then that one there, that is like direct access into the bed, we'll call that quote unquote bed of the Jeep. And once I put the side plates on, you'll see it in another video and photos once everything's plated up, with the side plate here, and ultimately I'm going to have doors. This thing was starting to look like a hot box, so I figured if I left that back area open, there should never be anything loose in there to come out and attack me. So maybe we get a little better ventilation. And if we're going to winter wheel it, I'll probably make some sort of enclosure for the back of the cab anyhow, so just to keep some warmth in it. But I got a little painting done. I got the hood that's painted. I got all of the panels painted. Those two right there are the fenders. That's going to be the tail end. I made a panel over this structure, this window here. That's kind of fun to do to match up. It matches up the radius of the shock towers in the back. So that was kind of cool. That's going to get license plate and tail lights on it. Yeah, I do run a license plate on this thing, whether it's truly legal or not. Well, I know it ain't legal, but it's insured and it's got a plate on it. So that's kind of hot rodish to me. If you ain't going to mess with a T-bucket, why would you mess with me? So that's kind of where we're leaving off. I've got to, I'm hoping today, before I leave the shop, I'm going to get those floor pans sanded down and a coat of primer on it. Maybe the windshield pulled off and sanded down. And then all I've really got left to paint white is going to be the windshield, the cowl, and the front grille. And the front grille is going to be my last thing I do, because it is really easy to pull out and paint it after I've wheeled it some, if I, whatever. So, well, I guess I got to pull it out to paint the roll cage stuff and tube work. But any which way, that's the update. I want to say thanks for watching. If you like what you see, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Hopefully we'll get some wheeling videos in here pretty quick. I've got a recovery class to teach April 27th up in Tomah, Wisconsin, for the Wisconsin Coalition of Four-Wheel Drive Clubs Association, 4WDWC, something like that. I taught one last year and we had a good time. I ended up actually doing a little trail riding afterwards, and one of the guys stuck a Gladiator in a pretty interesting scenario on accident, and it was kind of cool to watch a bunch of greener four-wheelers and green recovery guys use all the information they just learned and actually put it to the test to keep further damage off of the vehicle. It high centered and slid down into a tree, wrecked the top on it, wrecked one door a little bit. And, amongst the team effort of the 15 people that were in that class, they managed to get that Jeep off of out of that situation without any further damage to the vehicle. Any hillbilly could have went in there and just hooked it with a chain and drug the tree down the whole side and got the thing off of the hillside and the high center situation it was in. But to watch the guys in that class and gals and do that, exactly the best way that they could come up with, and they came up with a great idea, a great way of doing it, and got the guy out of there. So so I got to teach that class. It was last year. It was the first chance I got to use the buggy on the new axles and things like that. It was a nice leisurely trail ride after the recovery class, touring people of the park, and got to find out if I had any bugs and kinks and stuff like that before we actually take an 8-hour trip somewhere. So hopefully I'll get some video up from that, and get that posted up here as well. So again, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, share, all that good jazz, and check back later.